Good evening. I'm Spot On Weather Meteorologist Matthew Euler, and I know we're getting to that time of the year again where we start talking about turkeys and Thanksgiving. So tonight we're going to talk about the theme of this particular presentation and forecast is cold turkeys in the winter. Here's a nice shot of a nice turkey just wandering about. It's going to be very cold this Thanksgiving Day across Southeast Virginia. All right, and I'm also going to look a little bit longer range as well in tonight's video. We're going to talk about teleconnections and what they indicate. Now, I'm going to start off with looking at, it's a time of year in the winter time when we start looking at teleconnections, and they have a definite impact on the winter weather pattern. And really, the trick in long-range forecasting is figuring out which teleconnections are more dominant as compared to the other ones. And sometimes you get all the teleconnections that work together into a constructive feedback process. And when that happens, we do use those teleconnections in forecasting upcoming long wave patterns, jet stream patterns across the northern hemisphere. And the jet stream means everything this time of year as far as where those upper air ridges set up and where the upper air troughs set up. So let's take a look at some of the teleconnection forecasts here down the road. Now, starting off with an image here on the left, I'm showing you the Arctic Oscillation. And this is the forecast for the Arctic Oscillation in the long range. This line here, now I will zoom in a little bit on this so you can see a little bit better. But this line here generally indicates the zero line, okay? Any blue lines below, blue bars below this solid black zero line indicate a negative Arctic oscillation. And that is shown right here in the last few days of November into December. The first week of December, we go sharply negative in the Arctic oscillation. Over here on the right-hand side, I'm showing you the North Atlantic Oscillation forecast. And also, look at this, the blue bars below going negative below the zero line here. So that is two indicators. Okay, first of all, those two indicators, a negative Arctic Oscillation as well as a negative North Atlantic Oscillation, usually yield colder than normal temperatures. And I'll go ahead and show you that here in a moment here on some charts. Looking at the Pacific North American pattern, what is it forecast to do here in the long range, the next 10 days or so? Oh, look at this. That is above the zero line. So now we're talking about a positive Pacific North American pattern. All right, and a positive Pacific North American pattern generally favors an upper air ridge over the western U.S. into western Canada and a cold trough over the eastern U.S. And then also I'd like to look at the Madden-Julian Oscillation. And we're currently situated in about a phase 5 right now. Okay, that's where we're at right now, around phase 5. Look at the way this green line is the forecast line of where the Madden-Julian Oscillation MJO phase is heading towards. Each one of these sectors indicates a different phase. So notice how it's wrapping around counterclockwise into phases 8 and phases 1. All right, whenever you get phases 8 and phases 1 this time of year, that generally indicates colder than normal temperatures for the eastern United States. I will show you some maps courtesy of the MAD Teleconnections website. Here they are, okay? This is just backing up what we're talking about tonight. So with a negative AO, this is what you get. Now, this is the temperature scale on the bottom in degrees Fahrenheit temperature anomalies, okay? So the blue colors here indicate below normal temperatures, anywhere from 2 to 3, even to 4 degrees below normal Fahrenheit, okay? And these are some of the years in which we've seen some Decembers to where this has actually occurred, where we have a negative AO and the actual temperatures were below normal across the Midwest and eastern U.S. Now look at over here at the negative North Atlantic Oscillation. Very similar pattern. You got a lot of blues across the Midwest and the eastern U.S., even all the way down to Florida. Below normal temperatures from the Midwest to the East Coast. These yellows out west indicate above normal temperatures. See this? 1 to 2 degrees above normal out in the western U.S. because you usually have a upper air ridge and a long wave trough That's usually the upper air pattern with the jet stream when you have these kind of teleconnections setting up. With a positive Pacific North American pattern, look what happens. You get warmer temperatures across the Pacific Northwest. You get above normal temperatures into Montana and the Dakotas. Look in the eastern U.S. here, okay? Much below normal temperatures, again, with a positive Pacific North American pattern. That's when you have a huge ridge over the west and a trough in the east. Look at the past Decembers, the years in which we have that type of pattern set up. And then look at over here with MJO, the Madden-Julian Oscillation. What happens in the Pacific, because everything moves from west to east in our particular area of the world, in the mid-latitudes, the Madden-Julian Oscillation phases 8 and phases 1. We're currently in a phase 5 right now, but we're heading towards phases 8 and phases 1. So 8, see the blue shading here, much below normal temperatures. Let me zoom in on that. I can kind of zoom in. Okay. So you see in phase 8, much below normal across the Midwest or Eastern U.S. again. And then there is phase 1, okay, up here. So any way you cut this, it's looking like the teleconnections are pointing towards a colder long-range weather pattern here. Okay, and it's that time of year where we need to start using them. And let's move on. I'm also going to throw in this. I made a little post not that long ago. I just made a post about this. Above normal water temperatures are right here. See these orangish colors in the Gulf of Alaska or off the west coast of Canada? Here's your temperature anomalies, okay? These are your temperature anomalies across all the water areas, really. But if you notice that the warmer than normal temperatures are situated up here in the Gulf of Alaska, okay? And that usually promotes a long wave ridge when you have that warmer than normal water sitting up there at higher latitudes in the eastern North Pacific. A long wave ridge and a trough carved out across the Midwestern eastern U.S. So again, it's all pointing, the signs are all pointing there. You know, this is a case tonight where I look at these teleconnections and I say, wow, everything is pointing towards the same thing. Now, the real trick again with long-range forecasting is which of these teleconnections is more dominant or has the greatest influence in a particular area. That might vary both spatially and temporally. So just keep that in mind. It's something to keep an eye on. I'm very intrigued by all these teleconnection indicators right now and the type of weather pattern that may ultimately set up, not only for the next few weeks, but through the course of the winter. Now let's start taking a look at these upper air pattern charts here. This is courtesy of Unisys Weather. We're going to start it with Thanksgiving. And let me tell you something, folks. This Thanksgiving is going to be very cold, much colder than normal for Southeast Virginia, and even colder if you have plans to visit any family up in the New England states. This is some extremely cold air. See how tightly packed these white lines are, these height contours, right? And then these yellow shadings indicate jet stream winds blowing in from the northwest at about 120 to 130 knots, just blowing through here. This is a little chunk of Arctic air that's going to come down. At the surface, there's going to be 1,036, 1,037 millibar high situated over New England, and all this cold Arctic air is going to funnel down just for a brief time, Thanksgiving and into Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. And I tell you what, if you're going to the Thanksgiving Day Parade up in New York City, you better dress warmly or else you're going to be really, really cold. Looking at temperatures only in the 20s during the parade, wind chills into the teens, okay? And down here in Southeast Virginia for Thanksgiving, it's going to be mighty chilly as well. You know, a nice little upper ridge situated over Western Canada, a lot of momentum with the jet stream bringing that colder air in. Okay, so dress warmly, Thanksgiving here at Southeast Virginia. We're only going to see temperatures into the middle 40s at the warmest, despite a lot of sunshine on Thanksgiving Day, which is quite below normal for this time of year. That's normally like a January type cold. Then we'll have a little bit of a brief warm-up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Okay, look at what's happening here. There is some jet stream energy in the southern branch of the jet stream as well with that subtropical jet. Look at this. Look at these yellow colors. Some stronger wind speeds. You've got some colder air with this trough trying to filter in from the Midwest and a little bit of a flatter pattern. That nasty little Arctic shot kind of lifts out. High pressure moves offshore. The winds do turn around a little bit from a more warmer southerly direction. And we do get some moderating temperatures this weekend. But the one thing I've noticed recently with the long-range models, and I've been watching them very, very closely and with great interest, is these warm-ups are very brief and they're not very extreme. We go right back into the colder pattern. Now look at these thicknesses. Here comes another upper air trough. And this is next Wednesday, the 28th of November, and then even into the first week of December here on the right. I'm just showing you these blue thickness lines here generally indicate colder temperatures. Lower thicknesses equate to colder temperatures in the atmosphere. And if you look at this, that's 1,030, actually 1,025 millibar high situated over Kentucky here on the left. But just continuous repetitive shots of cold air from the northwest to southeast as those jet stream winds continue to pull that colder air down from Canada in periodic episodes. Now, we will have some moderating periods in between these cold shots, but the overall long-range pattern continues to indicate much colder air and a below normal type of setup for the upcoming winter as far as temperatures go. All right, and moving on now to the Thanksgiving forecast, the Thanksgiving 2018 forecast. If you're traveling anywhere across the United States, it's looking pretty good from the East Coast all the way to the Midwest, all the way into Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, into the northern plain states. Looking really dry, so if you got travel plans anywhere, even going north towards New England, it will be blustery and very cold. Dress warmly if you're heading north up there. But overall, across the United States as a whole, it looks, very dry. Maybe a few scattered showers down around Louisiana, New Orleans area. Also, there's some mountainous snow out west, Idaho and Utah, Nevada. And then you have approaching, hopefully, some welcoming rains to come in with the storm system into the western U.S. So if you live in Seattle down to Portland, you may get a little bit of rain shower activity if you're driving there or trying to do outdoor activities on Thanksgiving Day. For Southeast Virginia, again, we're on the front side of this high pressure system, this Arctic high, this 1037 millibars situated there over Southeast Canada, funneling a much colder air. It could have a situation where we have a cold air damming or a wedge setting up there at that point. So here's my long-range final thoughts. Major teleconnection indicators are pointing towards a very cold period, late November into middle December. All right. Now, realize one thing too. Whenever you have these type of situations and patterns, these teleconnection indicators, sometimes there's a little bit of a lag in what happens. So, for example, we had a strong negative Arctic oscillation into the first weeks of December. And then it may take a couple of weeks before that actually, the coldest chunk of air comes down from Canada and really gets us. But everything points towards everything's favoring the West Coast ridge and the East Coast trough. It's going to be a very cold Thanksgiving Day here in Southeast Virginia. We're only expecting highs in the middle 40s. It may struggle to reach that despite a lot of sunshine. There'll be a very cold morning on Friday, the 23rd, if you plan to go out and shop for Black Friday. Keep that in mind. Dress warmly as you go out and about either Thursday night or Friday morning. So dress warmly and in layers as you're out and about. I'll tell you what, the southern jet is very active. There's coastal storms that just keep forming. Gulf of Mexico low pressure systems. It's a very active southern branch of the jet. And we expected that with El Nino. That's typical of an El Nino winter. So the pattern is setting up very well. And it could get interesting as we get into December here, Southeast Virginia. If you get that cold Arctic air to come down from Canada at the same time, you get that moisture coming in with those coastal, the Gulf of Mexico lows becoming coastal lows up the East Coast. Look out for wintry precip when you get that cold Arctic air, and it hangs in there and doesn't want to move out very readily because it's so dense. And then you get that moisture to come in from the coastal lows. It could be a real interesting winter around Southeast Virginia this year. All right, that wraps things up tonight. It's Spot On Weather. Again, I appreciate everyone's viewership here with our channel, and hopefully I'll have a little more time here in the future to make some more videos. I really enjoy sharing the weather. It's my passion, and thank you so much, everybody. I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving. Take care. Be safe out there if you're out there on the roads, and take care, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving from Spot On Weather.